The exciting news is that the NASDAQ 100, the QQQ, is being changed, and they are kicking some companies, some stocks out of the NASDAQ 100, and they are adding Palantir and Microstrategy, which is a way of trading Bitcoin. It's a leverage play on Bitcoin because they use convertible bonds, and it ends up being a leverage play on Bitcoin, Microstrategy. NVIDIA isn't doing well, as I predicted a month ago. They have competition from the big Magnificent Seven companies that are making their own chips and don't want to be completely reliant on NVIDIA. That's a major downdraft on NVIDIA, that these major stocks, the Magnificent Seven, are making their own chips. And we're also going to talk about SOUNDHOUND, symbol SOUN, S-O-U-N, which is a subsidiary of NVIDIA. So they benefit strongly from that, even though NVIDIA itself is having some problems right now. The biggest news is Broadcom, symbol AVGO, which now has a market capitalization over $1 trillion. I think it's time to start talking about the Magnificent Eight. This company literally connects everything with everything else, and then now they're making artificial intelligence chips at scale for Apple, or will be making them at scale for Apple. So I think it's part of the Magnificent Eight, I will call it. Maybe we should call it the Epic Eight. Broadcom stock closes up 24%, pushing company past $1 trillion market cap for the first time. Shares of Broadcom closed up more than 24% Friday, pushing the company's market cap beyond $1 trillion for the first time. For the year, the company said artificial intelligence revenue jumped 220% to $12.2 billion. That is the biggest news because they want to see that artificial intelligence is finally starting to pay off, and this is definite proof that it is. Broadcom reported $14.05 billion in revenue for the fourth quarter, which was up 51% year over year. And looking at the chart, you can see that it rocketed up on Friday, bringing its year-to-date performance to 101%. So it's doubled since the beginning of the year, but a big part of that was made on Friday. I bought it in the aftermarket on Thursday for like $184, but I didn't buy enough shares. I couldn't believe how much it was going up, and I forced myself to buy some at about 220 on Friday, which is always hard to do once your stock has gone up massively. But it looks like this stock is going to keep going up. I would surely buy it on dips, and I would consider adding even at these high prices. While Apple currently does AI processing on high-performance chips originally designed for Macs, those chips were not expressly designed for that purpose and therefore aren't as fast or energy efficient as those that have been posing a challenge for the company as it plans to continue rolling out and scaling up its AI features and services. Broadcom and Apple did not provide comment to the information regarding its report. Apple is not the only company that has opted to develop its own AI chips rather than relying on third-party GPUs from the likes of NVIDIA. Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Meta have all developed their own AI chips, and it has previously been reported that OpenAI was also working with Broadcom and TSMC to build its own AI inference chip. Earlier this month, Apple revealed it also was exploring using Amazon's Trainium 2 chips for AI model pre-training. According to a report from October 2024, the generative AI giant has secured manufacturing capacity with TSMC and hopes to have its first custom AI chips manufactured by 2026, although that timeline is subject to change. Other big news was that Microstrategy secures NASDAQ 100 inclusion after Bitcoin-fueled stock surge. Microstrategy will be added to the tech-heavy NASDAQ 100 index, the exchange operator said on Friday. That's the QQQ, following a meteoric surge in the shares of the Bitcoin buyer. The change comes into effect before the market opens on December 23rd, NASDAQ said. Merry Christmas. Inclusion in the index typically boosts the stock's price as exchange-traded funds looking to replicate the index's performance buy shares of the newly included firm. They're forced to buy the stock. Data analytics firm Palantir Technology and taser maker Axon Enterprise were added to the NASDAQ 100 index along with Microstrategy. Gene sequencing equipment maker Illumina, that's a big Cathie Wood stock, I believe. AI server maker Super Microcomputer, that's SMCI. I made so much money on SMCI, but it's just been a dumpster fire. Their auditor quit, their compliance officer quit. Nobody knows whether you can believe the numbers. And once you get in that situation, you just want to stay away from stocks like that. That's what I've learned from all my trading. And vaccine maker Moderna. Now, that's kind of a tragedy that's being eliminated. They were a vaccine producer, and they were above $400 at one point. I think they're like 10% of that right now. Were removed, NASDAQ said. MicroStrategy, an aggressive investor in the world's largest crypto asset, has seen its shares soar more than sixfold this year, taking its market value to almost $94 billion. The company began buying and holding Bitcoin in 2020 as revenue from its software business waned. It is now the largest corporate holder of the cryptocurrency. Analysts have said MicroStrategy's decision to purchase Bitcoin to protect the value of its reserve assets has enhanced the appeal of its stock, which tends to align with the performance of the cryptocurrency. It more or less is a leveraged buy of Bitcoin, but it moves in strange ways because they use convertible bonds, and the stock price can actually go down sometimes when Bitcoin goes up, which kind of freaks me out. But it tends to move with the Bitcoin price, but there's some uncertainty with it, but it tends to move dramatically. Bernstein analysts expect the market will likely set its sight on S&P 500 inclusion for MicroStrategy in 2025 following the NASDAQ 100 inclusion. That will be such an explosive move on Bitcoin if MicroStrategy makes it into the S&P 500, because it's virtually just a play on Bitcoin. The brokerage also sees the company's prospects continuing to improve next year, adding it expects more visibility and recognition beyond fresh ETF inflows as a result of the NASDAQ 100 inclusion. Bitcoin has rallied in recent weeks as U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's victory heightened the crypto sector's hopes for easing regulatory roadblocks. He's developing his own cryptocurrency, which we will talk about. Earlier this month, the digital asset catapulted above 100,000 for the first time. Management has shown no signs of slowing this Bitcoin buying down and are comfortable buying Bitcoin in the $95,000 to $100,000 range, Bernstein analysts said. The company held roughly 423,000 Bitcoins bought for about $25 billion based on the average purchase price as of December 8th. The investment is worth around $42 billion based on Bitcoin's previous close, according to Reuters calculations. Trump's crypto project, World Liberty Financial, appears to be buying specialized digital tokens worth millions of dollars as speculation increases that the decentralized finance lending platform is moving closer to becoming operational. His family has been actively promoting the project through social media and public appearances. Is there any doubt that Trump is pushing crypto? On the political front, now here we're going to get in why I'm concerned about the inauguration threat, just because he's unpredictable. How seriously he goes into what he's promised to do is to be taken very seriously and will have major consequences. But it's just unpredictable whether he will moderate it or whether he's going to go in full force. On the political front, things are getting more turbulent for the Republican as January approaches. Trump this week appeared to turn tail on a series of promises he made to voters, including pledges to lower food and gasoline prices. And with two of his nominees having already withdrawn, he continues to defend his unorthodox cabinet picks. He's just unpredictable, which was the reason I got out of SMCI. It just became too unpredictable. At the time of this recording on Saturday, Bitcoin was hanging around 101,000. The news that Microstrategy was added to the QQQ, the NASDAQ 100, just came out. So I think we're going to get a breakout of sorts on Monday. So I think we'll be very lucky to get it below 415. As you look at the chart, you can see it's hanging at 408, but I think that's going to be at least 415 at the opening. I'll be surprised if it's any less than that. MicroStrategy has made 547% since the beginning of the year, but that's almost sure to go up on Monday, I believe. Palantir has already been added to the S&P 500 some weeks ago, and now as of December 23rd, it also will be added to the QQQ, the NASDAQ 100. And looking at the chart, you can see that it's made 343% since the beginning of the year. Wow. Topping off on Friday around $76 and going up in the aftermarket. So its inclusion in the QQQ will propel this stock further upwards also, I believe. And its relative strength is 71, which indicates there's a lot of demand without it being totally overbought. And last but not least, we have SOUNDHOUND AI, symbol SOUN. And it's gone up 687% since the beginning of the year. I started trading it when it finally hit $8 because to me that indicated that it was breaking out, and it's continued breaking out. It's gone from that $8 range to now almost within 17 range. It ended the day at $16.91. At one point it was over $17. So I think this is a very sound stock, needless to say. So it's gone up from $8 to over $16. It basically has doubled in less than 2 weeks since the beginning of December. So this is a breakout, and I expect it to continue. Even though the RSI is at 80, that would indicate to some that it's overbought. But when you have a breakout, that indicates strong demand. It may pull back some, but I think we're on a good course with this stock, and I intend to keep it if possible.